What's up, Bills fans? The day after the Super Bowl, and here we are again. Either the Patriots earn it, they rarely lose. They're 6-9, so they win a hell of a lot more than they lose. So hats off to them. No, I'm not gonna wax poetic about them too much. Just give the credit where it's due. Bill Belichick, masterful game plan defensively. Hats off to Wade Phillips too on the Rams, former Bills head coach. You hold Patriots to 13 points, and the last one being a late field goal to kind of seal it up. What can you say, man? He did all he could. The biggest story, obviously, kind of two parts. Brady, Belichick winning their sixth, 9 trips overall for the two, which is a feat that I don't think we'll ever see again whenever this reign of dominance of theirs ends, or we're just never going to see this again. And what happened to the Rams, the vaunted Rams offense, the offensive guru, wonderkind Sean McVay, his prized pupil Jared Goff, just an epic egg on the biggest stage. And I tweeted it, I said it, whether it was on Instagram or Snap. I don't want to hear offensive guru and Sean McVay uttered in the same breath again. Offensive gurus adjust, they adapt in-game, on the fly, at halftime. Injuries or not, I don't want to hear about no Cooper Kupp, Gimpy Gurley. That's what great head coaches, great on their side of the ball. This is because to me it's a two-man operation over there. I started to look at the Rams this way and it was never more so than last night. I would say that McVay, as a young leader, a young head coach, granted he's really young. This is only his second season. But I think Wade Phillips is just as much the head coach in that team as he is. I really do. Whether McVay he's the head coach in name only, he's the head coach. But I think at this point, to me, going forward until otherwise, I think he's more or less a glorified offensive coordinator. And I'll want to see how they proceed when Wade finally decides to go somewhere else or retire. He is 70 years old. But I was in shock how they just did not show up. And the whole Gurley thing is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in my life. How do you have pretty much an offensive MVP, a guy who scored almost 20 touchdowns, just totally slowly fade away from your game plan, whether he's hurt or he's not hurt? Is it mental? What's going on? Just strange. Brandon Cooks, a guy you trade a first-round pick for, he's a little splash player here or there, but to me, not that special. Not that special. I don't. Robert Woods made some tough catches. But it always comes down to, and in football, we always get caught up in the new fancy thing. What's that new fancy scheme? What's that new splash thing? Football is simple. You win the line of scrimmage. You either convert on third down offensively or get off the field third down defensively. And you make a team pay. When they turn the ball over, you make them pay. And I mean with 6s, not 3s. Complimentary football. Patriots special teams punter was excellent, phenomenal, pinning the Rams back inside their own 5 repeatedly. The defense, Hightower almost had a pick. They just had everything in place. Be that as it may, you can look back on it and say if Jared Goff spots Cooks earlier, he catches that touchdown as opposed to McCourty getting over to make a play. If he leads Cooks a little bit more, maybe Cooks should have hung on to that ball. He should have hung on to that last one that Gilmore got in. He was right there in the breadbasket, and he dropped it. and Patriots go on to win. But on to the Bills now. I always watch these games in the playoffs, and I think, I always think about the Bills in relation to the games I watch. As a Bills fan, that's my nature. I've always done that. And this game was a huge coup. A huge coup for the defensive community, the defensive-minded head coaches out there, i.e. Sean McDermott, a guy like Vic Fangio just hired in Denver. Now you see, Brian Flores is getting the job in Miami. You're going to see, look, defense still exists in this league, and it does. I mean, you could look at the first half of the Chiefs-Patriots. It was a very close game. The Saints-Rams, that was a close game. Calls could have gone either way. It was still 26-23. That's not this ridiculous thing that we saw when the Rams and KC got together after they moved the side of the game. The NFL switched the ref crew late in a weird thing. They all of a sudden was a point of emphasis about flags. There was no flags in the Super Bowl, which I was a huge fan of. For the most part, the refs kept the laundry in their pockets. The one play that Roby Coleman got flagged on to Rex Burkhead early in the game that extended the Pats, I thought that was ticky. I thought that was very ticky-tack. I thought it was a bang-bang play, made a good play, and it should have been a loss of like 5 or 6, and they threw the flag. 15-yard defenseless receiver. I just was very... Anyway, Bills. Sean McDermott, with this whole offseason coming up, the team's strength is its defense, and we all know where it needs to go offensively, particularly on the offensive line. And when I watch this game, I see how the Bills really, it just even gets strengthened by this game, how much the Bills need to get that line right, to get the lines right, really. Because if you look back historically, you can go back to when did they start getting somewhat more requisite on defense. But believe it or not, those Durant teams were not bad on defense. They were just so putrid on offense, their defense would just get hung out to dry as games went on. And they just never had the support from that side of the football team. They had good special teams then. They had very good special teams under Bobby April. They just never had any kind of offense. And their defense would just wear down. They were bend, but you're going to break. Look at those long runs Michelle hit up late on the Rams. They could have stopped them, but they're tired. They've been on the damn field all game with 300-plus pound guys laying on them. Things give. And it even strengthened how much more work on both lines, defensively and offensively. Bills lost Kyle Williams. He was not a good run defender. He was a penetrating defensive tackle, would one gap upfield, try to push the pocket, get off the field, get up on his guy with quickness and speed. But if guys were able to get hands on him, they could move him. And the Bills need a better player, a more stout player against the run to fill in his void. Whether it's a rotation, whether it's a guy that they feel like is a long-term answer, is remain to be seen. Given the depth of this draft at defensive tackle, even though I've mocked Ed Oliver to them, I can't mock trades. They haven't happened yet. I don't mock trades. I won't go that far. They need a guy there or guys that can hold up and be stout against the run and still give them enough movement to help the linebackers run free, shoot gaps, make plays. So there's work that needs to be done in that area, especially on the edges. Jerry Hughes is in the last year of his contract. Shaq Lawson has an option that needs to be picked up, probably won't be picked up. Trent Murphy, maybe he gets to go into this season healthy. So, and that's just the defensive line. We already know about the offensive line, and that one starter, in my eyes, returns for next season is Deion Dawkins. And even his position, to me, is left to question. Whether the new offensive line coach, Bobby Johnson, feels he's better on the left, he's better on the right, he gets kicked inside, I don't care. I have no allegiance to a position, a play, because that offensive line was so bad, and he himself had so many mental errors in terms of penalties, and whether it was pre-snap, holding, whatever. He had a lot of gaffes. So there's all those positions. Every last one of them is open for me, and that is a heavy lift. That is a heavy lift this team has to do in the trenches. And that's where the work needs to be done. Because if this team's going to take a step forward, it needs to be there. And it needs to be the next phase, obviously, is special teams. I feel, maybe this is me being the optimistic pie-in-the-sky Bills fan. I think Josh Allen can take a monumental step forward if he's got offensive linemen in front of him that he trusts. We already see he's got the set to stand in and make a throw where he's going to get hit. But I'd like to see him be able to operate in a clean pocket, for the most part during a game, and not have to worry about running for his life or just trying to extend every play with his legs. That's a nice tool to have in your toolbox and in your arsenal, but you can't rely on it all the time. And conversely, it's Jared Goff wishes he had Josh Allen's legs. That would have been extremely valuable, because he couldn't move, he couldn't extend plays, he was in the back there, and he was a sitting duck a lot of the times because he just doesn't have the athleticism or the arm that Josh Allen has. So I know I'm going to do a lot of correlating between the Super Bowl and the Bills, but the lines was just hitting home for me every play, every quarter that passed, every possession. It was just like, in my head, I'm like, if they used every one of those 10 draft picks on defensive and offensive linemen, who am I to say, like, nah, that was bad? No. Obviously, they're not going to do that, but you need to have your best free agent, your most prized free agent, be a lineman. And I think you need to have your most prized draft pick be a lineman. Actually, top two. You could argue top two free agents, top two draft picks be linemen. Whether they're defensive or offensive, it doesn't matter. They need to be linemen when it comes down to it. Bills, total digression, filled a few coaching vacancies. Ken Dorsey was named the quarterback coach. Had a long relationship working with Cam Newton. Always seen, started to get the comparisons after Josh Allen was doing a lot of running, mostly for his life. Didn't take a lot of big hits. The one hit where he did get injured, it was after the play, standing in the pocket, and Clowney gets knocked into, Merciless knocks him into Clowney's helmet and hits his elbow, and of course, with our Bills fans' luck, he gets injured. But everybody instantly jumps to, another Carolina connection and this and that, and it's just, Bills fans, they just tend to hyperventilate over every little thing. Everything is the negative spin. There's nothing like, hey, let's just, until it's proven wrong, let's give it a chance. But the Bills fan, and I've seen all the garbage. You're not only, there's certain few out there that think that the only victims of watching what we've watched. No, we've all sat and watched it. And however you choose to ingest or not ingest it is up to you. For me, that's what sports is about. If you don't have hope, if you don't have optimism, if you don't have some sort of clear-headed view, like, hey, this could work. This could work. I have to be receptive and open to this working, because if I go into everything with this just tainted veil over my eyes, this is bad, doom and gloom, it's a Carolina connection. Ken Dorsey was let go because Norv Turner was like, I'm not taking your OC job if my son's not my quarterback. That happened. The National Nepotism League, okay? That happened. Or I should say Nepotism Football League. You just keep it, that's the NFL. That happened. If my son Scott's not the quarterback coach, I don't take your job. That's it. Gary Kubiak didn't, move down the hall into the OC job because he couldn't have his own assistants because they had just let him go the year prior. Dennison was one of them, and a few other guys. He was like, no, I'm going, and now he's with Minnesota. It happens. Chad Hall, pretty obvious choice to get promoted to wide receivers coach. I even tweeted that a month ago. I was like, they're going to promote him to wide receivers coach. It was the way every hire was going in terms of youth, in terms of a new energy, fresh faces, new voices, and I'm always a fan of that. There's a lot of retread that happens in the National Football League. I mean, if you could, on the other hand, you look at what Jacksonville did to retool their staff. It was all with old guys. You know, I'm not saying it won't work, but it was all pretty much, you know, Terry Robisky, just the same names, whether it was offensive line, running back coach, there was a few other vacancies they had. It was pretty much the same guys I've seen kind of cycle through this team and that team. Sorry for the street cleaner. So it was clearly a different tact in which they went, and I like it. I'm about that, because clearly what they were doing was not working. And the biggest hire, obviously, to me, is the offensive line coach. Hired an assistant also, Heffernan. I can't pronounce his last name. I know it's Heffernan. I can't say the rest of it because I don't want to mispronounce it. I have to find out how the pronunciation works. Sorry if I'm all over the place. But let me know if you guys do that too. If you're watching a game, and it doesn't matter whether it's regular season, postseason, obviously postseason, much bigger stage, Super Bowl, no bigger stage, and you always think or sit there and like, what would the Bills do? How would they do here? What would, would they be able to? And the whole time I'm watching it, again, maybe it's me being a Bills fan, I see plays out there that it throws situations where I felt Josh Allen could do markedly better than Jared Goff, whether it was extending a play, being able to run out of the pocket, hurt them with his legs, or just make a throw with arm strength, push the ball downfield a lot more than Jared Goff could. That's what I got out of it. The lines. Last night for me, probably for you, they need, those lines, they need to attack those lines. Because forget about all your fancy frills, bells and whistles, and wrapping paper. Theme of the week offense, gimmick this, doesn't matter. One in the trenches, third down conversions, third down stops, turnovers, and not just getting turnovers, hurting off turnovers. Because you get a turnover and don't do anything off of it, it's even more deflating. It's like, it's a wasted opportunity. Rams intercepting Brady on the first possession. They go 3 and out. Just totally, it's a draining thing. It really is. It really is. It's almost like, it's just such a waste. Then obviously being able, not killing yourself on special teams. Bills last year, 6-10 football team, I can argue, they lost 2 games. They were 2 games away from being 500 just on special teams gaffes alone. Forget about the anemic offense for the first whole half of the season, the offensive line blusters. I can just sit there and say, those special teams errors, botched snaps, block kicks, block punts, return yards given up, return yards not achieved, muffed punts. There's your 2 wins right there, and really be hard to argue. So yeah, those areas need to be amended. They need to be fixed. I'm not saying anything you guys don't already know. Let me know your thoughts, what you guys think. And I know you guys are of this. A lot of you I've spoken to. Fix the lines, and defensive too. Defense to me does not get ignored here. You look at like I've stated, the contract situation of the current guys, some of the ages of the players, on offense. To me, that whole line to me is wide open. I think Dawkins can start on the line. I just don't know where he starts. Maybe Teller. Bobby Johnson comes in, says, I like this guy, I can work with him, I can get him better, I can use him. That's one less guy you need. That's why you hire this guy. You know, he's shown an ability to work with a young line, assist in a young line, and a lot of those guys do a lot of the work with the offensive line. They do a lot of the cut-ups. They're not as much as in the game plan meetings, but they're doing a lot of the prep work and the on-the-field hands-on work while the coaches get the team ready in the office, or each other ready in the office and themselves ready in the office for the game plan. So that's what we're going to have, to me, in order for this team to take the next step. That's where they're going to have to go and attack. And then, to me, you get wide receivers that are good, solid wide receivers. I think you have the quarterback that's got the arm, the escapability, and the moxie to make the plays. There you have it. All right, Bills fans, thank you so much for this season, every last one of you, including you, Corey. I have to get you in, man. You've been around a while. You've been watching a while, so, you know. Again, I don't do this for myself. I'm not trying to promote this channel. I don't tell you guys. I never say click, subscribe, like, share. I never say that. If you guys want to watch for 10 seconds and turn it off, it doesn't matter to me. Just the fact that you've taken the time to watch, however long you did or didn't. If you watch the whole thing, like, it is incredibly humbling. And this is not just rhetoric, because I'll always say the biggest reward for me was just connecting with other Bills fans. That's all I wanted out of it. That's all I wanted. I didn't want no monetary gain, no fake wannabe celebrity like I'm some sort of ascending voice now. There's a big contingent, and I know I can go off on tangents on Twitter like all of us can and be a little in the moment. And of course, if my opinions are my opinions, I'll defend my opinions. And if I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to raise my hand and be like, flame me. I was wrong. You know, right now, Josh Allen, I didn't want him as the quarterback, but I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged and hopeful. As any fan, I mean, Arizona fans should try to be hopeful and encouraged of Rosen. Jet fans with Darnold. That's what sports is about. If you don't have that, what's the point? What's the point? But thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. A whole season. You guys stuck with me. Thank you. A long off season. I'll be back here soon. Got the combine coming up. A lot of the free agency stuff kicks off there. You start to hear names being bantied about, people talking to people. A lot of groundwork starts getting laid there for free agency and other things as well. Trades. Have a great week, guys. Beautiful sunny Monday here in North New Jersey. It's not 10 below. It's 45. Hopefully it's great where you are too. Take care, guys. Have a great rest of your week. Go Bills.